Mhm.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Chef Stephan. My brother, Chef, my brother and business partner in crime, Chef Todd Richards, had to go to the airport to go fire somebody. I'll give you the anecdote when he comes back when he joins us. But he's on his way back home from Atlanta Airport, and you all know what it's like to leave Atlanta to go on the other side of the city. So you guys know what's up. So welcome to Roots, Heart, and Soul. It sounds better when Chef Todd is there, and since he is just connecting with me, I'm
Yo.
gonna have him start the introduction again. So, Chef, how do we say it again?
How do you say what? Roots, heart, and what?
And soul, baby, and soul,
Hey,
And soul.
and
hey.
I
soul,
know that's
baby.
right,
Well, I know you on
man.
your way to. I know you on your way back to the house. Um, you had to go
Yeah.
fire somebody all the way at the airport.
Hey, duty when duty calls, and duty calls. But I'll jump on and be back with you guys in about 15 minutes.
All right,
All
brother.
right, man.
All right.
See you soon.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the real pleasure of hosting a young man because he's younger than me. Anybody who's younger than me is a young
Bro,
man.
you see all this gray right here, fam?
Hey, listen, I got more gray than you can count. Um, he's a young man by all definition of the word, who is a visionary, but he's also a great friend. We've met some 10 plus years ago.
Hmm.
We connected in Miami, and since then, we have become great friends. And what I love about him is that he is all about creating the light for others. It's not just about us. We're not gatekeepers. And like Todd always says, like Chef Todd always says, it's great to be a king, but it's even better to be a kingmaker. And this gentleman right here is definitely what I would call a king and a kingmaker. Visionary of all things, and what he does in the food world, but in the black and brown food space, it's just amazing. So, Chef Chad Cherry, welcome to the show, baby.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Hey, shout to you.
Welcome to
Shout to
the
Chef
show,
Todd.
man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. There is some exciting things boiling in the pot,
Hmm.
coming
Yeah, we
that's
cooking.
coming to fruition. We're cooking. That's coming to fruition in the next few months, and not only am I honored and privileged to be part of this movement
Yes,
from the
sir.
very beginning. By the way,
Literally, like,
literally from the very beginning. But I am happy to also be part of the committee that's putting this conference together that we will be talking about
hmm
very shortly. So before we dive right into the conversation, you know, a proper introduction is required. It's
thank you.
it's
Thank
always it's always required, man. It's required.
you. So, I mean, look,
So
you want me
we're
just to
gonna
shoot? Tell the
no,
folks, or
no, 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 no. Like Todd always says, there's nobody that can read an introduction like Chef Stephan. He is the co-founder of Chef Culture. We'll be talking about that shortly. Chef Chad Cherry has spent nearly the last 2 decades in the restaurant and food service industry, building a reputation as both a visionary and a culinary leader. His journey in the industry began unexpectedly after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and spent a month in the hospital. That experience highlighted the challenge of managing a health condition, very difficult health condition, while maintaining a balanced diet. Determined to find a healthier, better quality food, he went on to purchase one of Miami's first organic restaurants. His culinary creation garnered attention and earning him prestigious accolades, such as the 33 Emerging Creative Minds of Miami Award at Art Basel 2010. At the heart of Chef Chad's legacy is the organization he co founded alongside his wife, Collective Design, to uplift, promote culinary professionals nationwide, especially those of color. Chef Culture was born. Chef Culture serves as a resource hub for food service and hospitality entrepreneurs, fostering a network of chefs and affiliates to showcase their talents. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you,
How
man.
you doing, man?
Man, I'm good, bro. I am. It's been a long couple of days. This is road life. You know, as chefs, we always got something. I'm literally on the road back from Florida, heading to Tulsa. Should have been
Jeez.
home, but now we hit the storms that were coming last night, so we got stuck on the road. So
Okay,
that's why I'm
okay,
coming
okay,
to you from the
okay.
car. What was definitely planning to be back home and in my office and doing this from a fly location, but the car works. We mobile as
But
chefs.
and we are chefs, so
Yeah,
we do what we do. However, we have to do it.
you get it done, right? Literally no excuses. Like, yo, you in the kitchen, you don't have something, well, figure it out. We still gonna get the dish right. It doesn't matter.
That's correct. So, Chef Chad, I think one of the things I would love to dive in right away in this conversation is your health condition,
Yeah.
and the reason why I bring this up first is because I myself has been going through a number of setbacks
Hmm.
due to my health. 3 years ago, completely lost my mobility and in my ability to walk, and I had to fight my way back to have a certain level of mobility. And I think it's important that sometimes as chefs we forget how important it is to be healthy in order for us to do what we do
For us, right? Like
for
we forget
us.
that for us. Yeah.
And it is and unfortunately it's when things happen that we realize, hey, I should have been doing this, I should have been
Yeah.
doing that. So let's talk a little bit about you being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and the hurdles and what you've had to do
Hmm.
to being able not only to control it, to keep it in check, but to continue being able to be a chef.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about this.
It's great that we're starting here because I always say, like, like we have a plan and then God has a plan, right? And what happened is my condition is, chef, I've been alongside with you for your condition. I've been seeing you, man, and it's something like I've known you, like I said, we've known each other for over 10 years. And so to see when that hits you, how it affects you, I'm like, damn, bro. Like, me and other chefs talk, we always like, yo, we got to make sure my man is okay. We got to build, we got to do stuff like that. For me, this condition, I took what I call an unplanned vacation. Right? Like life was good. I was in corporate America. And what's funny is I had been in the restaurant industry and I left the restaurant industry to go get a real job, quote unquote. And I'm in
Yeah,
corporate
right.
America. I'm making money. I think I'm killing it, man. I go to the doctor. Doctor's like, sir, we're gonna rush you to the hospital. Ended up having to have a surgery, ended up doing other things because as a man, I did not take care of myself. And a lot of men are like this because our modus operandi is to provide, right? Protect and provide. Like that's something that's just in us. And I was trying to live that life and I thought I was doing well, but I wasn't doing well by me. So my diagnosis was that I became a type 2 diabetic. And I was told that I would be on insulin for the rest of my life. And I was told that I would be on dialysis by the time I was 40. I was over 350 pounds, bro. I look crazy. You can see it in my eyes and my face. You ever looked at someone and you just know they're unhealthy? Like, I look at pictures of back then and I'm like, dude, what was I thinking? But this is all I knew, right? So my journey in food is unconventional because I was in food, I left it, I came back to it, and then when I came back to it to solve a problem. So that lens what has led me throughout my culinary career. So being a type 2 diabetic for me right now, I have I'm under 270, which is a weight that I hadn't had since college. I'm totally off of insulin, right? I'm on pills right now,
Wow.
and I can be thank you, bro, and can be almost controlled by eating, right? So like even as a
Wow.
chef, one of my I mean for real, but like I want to stay on topic because I'll tangent. I'll take you somewhere else.
That's all right.
But
That's all right. I'll bring you back.
bring me, I bet, because what I always say to chefs, man, is that we are more than our food or what we can produce. I always tell chefs, right, and this comes back to my health. I'm like, look, right, the real power of being a chef is what you do with your food. How does your food impact your community? How does your food impact other people, right? And for me, I choose to use my food to try to impact the health of my community, to try to build my community, to heal, to nourish, right? Like that's what makes us powerful. And by
And
reframing it that way, sorry, jump in, chef.
no, 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 no. This is very interesting, and I just want to put a quick tangent to that
Yeah, yeah,
conversation
yeah, yeah.
because I want you to talk about that also.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in our community we seem not to have the type of food in on a grand scale of things, the type of food that we should be eating, but that are not particularly available to us.
See, and that's one of the things I touch on because what's crazy about this, right? What up, chef? Welcome, welcome, bro. Welcome. How you doing?
I, I'm here. How about that? You know?
Good. You walked in on a hot topic, man. We
Yeah,
going
yeah.
down the road on something right
Yeah,
now.
well, I would be remiss if I didn't say I did have to pour myself a little bit of 8-year Bacardi Reserve rum here.
Well, I
You
may
know,
have to do the same thing
yes, yes,
just to join you because
right.
I know you just went through, uh, you know, the unfortunate decision of letting somebody go, which is not something you want to do all the time.
Well, you
Um,
know, when I talk to the best half of me, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
tell her the reason why, and I tell her what was the abomination that happened to the recipe. I mean, when her face scrunches up like that, you know,
You
and
already know what time. Know what time it is.
you know, things don't make any sense. But don't let me interrupt you guys. You know,
so,
I
so,
will I
so,
will.
so
We're good. Jump.
Okay.
we're good, and we're happy that you made it home safely. So,
Yeah.
um, I would not want to do this do this show, especially this episode, without you.
Yeah.
So,
So I appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Chef,
bro. Thank you. Yes,
Cheers.
yeah.
sir.
So talking about the disparity
Mm-hmm.
that we tend to find in black and brown communities, especially in black and brown communities that don't have the dollars, who are living either on the poverty line or below the poverty line, and not being able to, um, within you have to drive miles to go get anything substantial in terms of food. Now, people who have your condition,
Mm-hmm.
how do they deal with that?
Let me start by addressing a bigger issue, right? And to answer that question, not in a roundabout way, but it'll make sense. If you want to control a person, control how they eat, right? We think we're free in this country, but we don't control our food. We are not
Mm,
free. What has happened is when you look at communities that look like us, it is not a coincidence. That is a direct result of a system. There are principles and practices that are in place that replicate that exact situation around the country. That's why MLK over here look like MLK over there, look like MLK right there, right? It's not a coincidence. So when we talk about how people with like type 2 diabetes or cholesterol, right, issues, heart issues, right, or with cancers, when we talk to them about how do we help prevent that, especially because we're saying we low income, right, which once again asset framing, like they're we all the negative stereotypes go towards our community. So we're going to say people that are working with the resources they have, right,
Paycheck to paycheck sometimes.
paycheck to paycheck. What we need to look at, and this is what chef culture believes in, is we look in sustainable solutions, and we look at solutions that will empower our community. So when I say I want to invest in the culinary professional, your auntie, your uncle, your cousin, right? Because every restaurant, I don't care how dope it is, Michelin star, whatever you want to get it, we in the back of the house. We're making it happen. It doesn't happen with us without us. So when I say I want to invest in us, it's because I know if I can empower that local professional who's already trusted to start delivering healthy meals and show them how to build a sustainable business, not only will they provide healthier food for their community, which will have a direct impact on your health, but they will also hire in that community. They're going to train in that community. We're going to spend money in that community. And you know why this is important, and bringing it back full circle to why I said if you control how someone eats, you control them, they're not free, is because we forget that we are great. We forget how great we are. This whole American food wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for us, right? We invented that. Those were recipes that were stolen from slaves. The first chef in America was a black man, right? Vegan, vegetarian, those were all things that we pioneered. That look at Rastas coming out with the Ital. Like, we pioneered those lifestyles, but other people came and put a spin on it and put a label on it and made it inaccessible for us, which is why they make so-called healthier food more expensive, because they know that it costs us more in our lives. It keeps us on the bottom if we're not able to control our health by what we eat. So they'll promote the unhealthy stuff. But we just have to remember that, like, our cultural foods, and I'm not talking about soul food as we know it now, but we look at our cultural heritage foods from every person of color around the diaspora. They're healthy foods.
Absolutely.
They're foods that are amazing and that are life affirming. They're foods that are full of fiber, full of nutrients, right? Full of color. These are and they're not expensive dishes, right? These are dishes that our community can go back to. We can learn so much from digging in the past and looking at that. There are things. So I tend to reject the notion that we are unhealthy because we don't know how to eat right.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Todd, Chef Todd Richards here, Chef Stephan. Of course, now we have the great Chef Chad here, Roots Heart Soul podcast on Heritage Radio Network. We're a little bit almost 20 after the hour here. And one thing that I think you were talking about when you were speaking about food and probably food deserts, kind of in that same genre. But another thing I want to ask a question about is understanding, things like basic butchering, because
Yep.
we
Knowledge.
divided the chicken up into parts, and then we sell the unhealthier, maybe quote unquote unhealthier parts. I think you cook a whole chicken is probably the best thing for you. But we cut the chicken in parts. We charge you more for it, but you will get more bang for your buck if you buy the whole chicken. You can use it in more versatile ways. So how do we go back and teaching or reaffirming cooking inside our community in order to make that dollar stretch even further?
So I think what we first have to acknowledge is that the way we consume food has changed. Where we could teach meat fabrication, right? We could teach people how to break down chicken, beef. We could do that all day. We could do a lot of cooking demonstrations. But the average person is not ever going to take that in, because in America right now, you constantly got to grind. You on your hustle mode every day just to survive. So the way we get this food back into our communities, we take the people that have the inclinations. I'm talking about the Chef Stephans. I'm talking about you, Chef Todd. We take people like ourselves and we say, hey, you're already doing this. You're interested in this. Let's show you how to be better. Let me show you how to break down a chicken. So you're not just going out and buying these pieces, right? So you can save some money, so you can provide a healthier meal. Let me show you how to build a menu off of these things, right? And we show these professionals how it makes business sense, and then they go back and supply the community, because what our community is looking for, yes, they want healthy food, but they're also time conscious. So we've got to be able to give our community their time back and save the money, right? Like, we have to reduce friction in every way possible, and that happens between us, people like ourselves. We're the access point. Not just the grocery stores, which they're a dope access point, not just the farms, they're dope. They're partners, right? We're partners in this, but we are the true access points and change makers that can influence the health of our communities.
Well, I mean, I think what continues to make that special, though, is that you said something about sustainability and giving people simple ways to access food. One thing I talk about a lot is just getting the Home Depot bucket, some soil, and put a tomato plant on your balcony or in your window.
It's gonna grow like crazy.
Right, and learn how to grow, some sweet 100s, to change so have the kid, also, kids want candy. Yeah, okay, that's great. But also have them understand what a sweet tomato tastes like, and watch them grow up and gravitate to the sweet tomato, as well. So, what other avenues or other things can we do simply just to get people back to returning back to the earth, buying the basil plants, at the store, the thyme plants at the store, listening to Roots Heart Soul podcast, where we, educate you on many things, well, following Chef Stephan's, Instagram, where he's, talking about Haiti in its full force.
Yes.
What things can we do, in order to create that sustainability?
Dude, you hit it on the head, man. It's having more conversations like this. It's highlighting people like us, right? Getting them in the room. What y'all do with this podcast by bringing other professionals on, we're showing people that it's viable, right? We always talk about representation matters, but y'all are showing people that. When you talked about earlier, Chef Stephan, you talked about how Chef Todd Richards said you got to be a king and a kingmaker. That's true, because, right, true power is only power if you can give it away, right? These are only things. So when you are able to build platforms that allow other people to shine, and when you're able to show the next generation people that look like themselves in so many aspects of food. When we talk about chefs, I'm not just showing you chefs that are in restaurants or in hotels, right? I'm showing you chefs working on movie sets. I'm showing you chefs that are doing farm to table. I'm showing you nutrition educators. I'm showing you chefs that are working in schools. We're showing you chefs that are doing after school education, doing live cooking demos. It's so I'm saying what you're doing is it, and continuing to have this conversation and being engaging about it and letting people know that they can go out, right? Like small community demos. We used to do something called Rent Day Cafe in Fort Lauderdale, where on rent day, if you came in and paid your rent that day, we were doing a healthy cooking demo and giving away free food. Just and it sounds like a wild thing, but the apartment complex paid us because it got more people to come pay their rent on time. So they were happy, but then our people were happy because they got food. I mean, it's gimmicky, but like, there's 1,000 little things. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do as long as we are starting to change the story and control the narrative.
Wait! I just want to make sure I heard. Did you hear that right, Stephan?
I'd like for it to be repeated one more time, please.
Right.
One more time, so it doesn't echo the right way.
Right. So the apartment complex paid you to cook on rent day, and those people that came and paid their rent on that day got meals. Right?
Yep.
Man, we got
free healthy meals
on the first.
On the first, right?
But see, this is where like the intersection of business, of commerce, right, capitalism, and community. This is where they work. Like, we want true change in this country. We can't separate the business side from it, right? We just need to figure out people's pressure points. As a small business owner, you paying me on day 1 versus day 5. My money loses value for every day that I'm not paid it. So finding leverage points. There are people in your community right now and I'm talking to all my chefs out there. This is my town hat. Listen, there are people in your community right now that you could be a solution for one of their problems using your food. And that's why I say food is a tool to build, heal, and grow our communities.
Wow. so uh, we dive into another question,
Hmm.
I want to make sure that you touch real quick on what you were able to do and how you were able to get a handle on
Thank you. The
your
health,
diabetes and your health, because I think this is such an important topic to be talked
dude,
about, especially in our chefs community.
dude.
We tend to forget about ourselves, and then we get into these situations where we're obese, we're so touch a little bit about that, and then we're gonna dive right into chef culture.
Okay, okay. Yo, thank you so much for bringing that back. That's a point, man. Um, I'm laughing in my head right now because I'm thinking about one chef. We were talking about the wildest things you eat as a chef, because everybody thinks as a chef you eat so great, right? And he was like, man, I was so tired one night. I just sat down, cut open a piece of bread, and sprinkled some chips in it, and just made a chip and bread sandwich.
All right.
Right? Like
We've been there. Mayonnaise sandwich, you know.
mayonnaise sandwich. And that's crucial, because what I did to help heal myself was exactly what we do for other people. I started cooking for myself. I was eating at my restaurant, because we had a restaurant in Miami. It was called the A Miami Cafe, organic French Caribbean bistro. We were doing vegan, vegetarian in '07 in Miami, when it wasn't a thing, right? Right. In
Hmm.
what's now the design district, but it was straight little Haiti back then, right?
Hmm.
But the point was, I was eating my own food. And then I got my mom into it. I got my dad into it. And I started to see how it was affecting my family's health, right? Because in my family, everybody over the age of 40 is a type 2 diabetic. That actually is ending with my son and my daughters. We're ending that generational curse. But I started feeding
Mm.
myself. And I've been able to continue feeding myself. And there are times when I got so busy in my business that I got away from it. But having a community of chef friends, I really will call somebody though. Like,
Right.
and be like, yo, bro, what you cook today? Like, you know what I'm saying? But I will say this: I have made it, especially in the past few years, which is really where I've done my biggest transition. I have made it a point to say, if I am cooking for someone, I am cooking for myself and my family. We are eating the same meal. I'm not cooking and giving everything away so that there's nothing. No, I'm cooking healthy for you. We eating that.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I've made myself a priority. And as chefs, we have to do that. It's not all about the business, bro, because we will cook all this amazing food for everybody else and then go grab a burger from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Not dissing McDonald's,
Yeah.
just saying.
No, yeah, yeah, just the thing, and anything that you do 5 days a week, sometimes,
And I can tell you stories
yeah,
about that one.
Yep.
right,
Okay,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I can tell you stories about that one because I ended up in the hospital with a triple bypass at 37 years old.
oh.
Wow,
But
chef.
that's another conversation.
Hey, with you cooking for your family,
Hmm.
how did their palate change though? Like, what did they
Oh,
start craving?
oh.
What deliciousness did they discover when you started cooking for the family?
Well, let's just say this. Like, my youngest is 12, and he has not said to me once from growing up that he doesn't eat vegetables.
Mm,
Right? Like, they were
Mm.
always on his plate. Kids
mm,
are neophobic. If that means they don't like new things. So if you don't introduce it to them young, it's harder to get them later on. And they're to the point of your palate, when you're used to certain flavors, like, we don't realize how fast food influences our taste buds.
mm,
And so my family, bro, yeah, we eat our share of quick casual. We eat our share of fast food sometimes, like, especially like we're on a road trip. We've looked, sometimes you can't find it depending on where you're at. But we still come back and crave. Like, my kids would be like, yo, I need a soup, or I need a salad, or you know what, I just want some veggies. I don't want something so heavy. Like, it's changed our perception of what a plate should look like.
mm.
And I think it's made us more cognizant of overall during the week what you're eating during the week, because you can get a couple days in of just nonsense and be like, "Ooh, I'm not feeling so great. Maybe I need to go eat this." And I think that is the shift that we're trying to get to. We're not perfect,
No,
but
no,
our family definitely is more cognizant.
Wow. This is definitely a conversation, health conversation, and I think that we need to dive even more deeply into. And I think Chef Chad will have to bring you back, not only you, but maybe you know, a nutritionist, somebody who's
Oh, bring
in
back
the
Sean
health
Shavers.
field, that we can
Hmm.
really have a deeper conversation on the choices of food we eat. You know, and even when we once in a while or a few times that we tend to bend toward the fast food
Yep. Yep.
version of what real food is supposed to be like, we also need to make sure that on a regular basis our food on our plate looks much better. And I should be a bigger advocate of that than most people, because I've been through it a few times, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm one to tell myself that I'm guilty as hell of, choosing the faster instead of the latter.
It's
So
yeah, but chef, man, the fact that you even talk about it, that's a start, man. Our minds are wired a certain way. Like whatever we reinforce, they do. So talking about it is a start, right? Like when we go into communities and we're talking about change, it's incremental change that we need. It's little by little. It's having a conversation. It's tasting it. It's trying it. It's building. And for chefs like yourself, you even when you had your issue, because you had always spent so much time pouring into other chefs, building platforms for other chefs, you had people that were willing to stand in the paint for you, right? And now I'm gonna say I've had issues where I've had to go down, right? Thank God, seriously. And I've had people that have stood in the paint for me. But I often think about all of the chefs that literally work until they can't work anymore. And because of the way our industry is set up right now, they're not they end up not being able to work. They don't have houses, they don't have retirement funds, they don't have anything, but they worked their whole life and now they get injured or
they're
they
they're
have
not
some kind of
financially they're not financially stable.
yeah,
They have no health insurance a lot of times.
none.
Okay, so when
No
they do get
401k.
sick, no 401k. And it's important that we have the financial stability conversation, the
Hmm.
health conversation, the mental health conversation, the staying healthy conversation.
And the
That
transition, the planning conversation, right? To Chef Todd's point, Chef, you wrote a book, you're a published author. That is amazing, right? But that gives you some kind of transition. That allows you to that allows you to claim expert status. You could go on speaking engagements and pay your rent as a speaker because you took the time to do something other than be in the kitchen. You couldn't have done that if you had spent all your time in the kitchen like most of us do.
I agree with you. One thing that the king and kingmaker conversation that Chef Stefan and I have often is that what is the legacy that you live behind,
Yeah.
leave behind, and there's always a dollar amount that capitalists will tell you that you should have leaving to your family, but us
Yep.
as chefs, our legacy is defined by how many cooks came out of our kitchen, how many chefs came out of our kitchen,
Mhm.
how many recipes are known throughout the world, and then what is the monetary value for those, and then how much of that is affecting the communities that we say, quote unquote, that we represent in that cuisine.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you are cooking, if you're cooking soul, you know how many people are taking your thoughts and soul food, modernizing in their own perspective and moving it forward based off of what
Yeah.
you did. If you're doing Japanese, how are you paying homage, to not only the Japanese culture but to Ethiopian culture, who shared the beginning
Come
of
on, man.
sushi,
Talk that, chef.
in the same talk. How do we talk about that in the trifold of sea urchin, where Charleston and Guinea Gullah Geechee
Gullah yep.
community, right, where sea urchin it grows on the coast of Charleston. And then we were just talking about the great Pierre Tom, when he was with Anthony Bourdain and they're over there spearfishing sea urchin, on the coast. So you can't be wealthy and hoard the money or hoard the prosperity that you have. I think that's really what we're all saying here on Roots Heart Soul podcast. I'm Todd, Chef Todd, which is of course the great Chef Stephan. We're here with Chef Chad. And it's great. It's great on a Tuesday. Everyone's alive and well, smiling, healthy. So you got some sunshine in the background, Chef. It's a little bit of
Beautiful, bro.
a rainy night in Georgia.
Man.
Chef Stephan down in the big O, Orlando. Keeping up with
Yes,
the magic.
Orlando indeed, Orlando indeed. So
Yeah.
talk about our first encounter,
Mhm.
you and I, Chef Chad, over 10 years ago, over 10 years ago.
A minute ago.
We were sitting in a small cafe in North Miami,
Noma.
Mm.
Yep.
and we were having a conversation, first of all, about celebrating a chef that has touched us all,
Mm-hmm.
or at least has touched you, me, and Chef Irie,
Chef
because we were
Irie. Yep.
together.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
were together when we were having this conversation, um, and we wanted to figure out a way to celebrate him.
Yeah.
And Chef Irie, who I had a few weeks ago on Roots Heart and Soul, we reminisced about this chef who touched us very deeply when we were both at Johnson and Wales, trying to become who we are today. He was the only black
Mm-hmm.
chef of color inside of JW.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. That's
Um,
crazy.
and this is at the same
Right?
time that we started having the conversation about chef culture.
Yes. Yes. This is, man, I that is such an important moment because when that happens, so Chef Todd, if you don't know the story, man, the chef we're talking about had been a culinary instructor at Johnson and Wales, and he passed away unfortunately, and
Yeah.
we
Say it.
came
Say,
together.
hey, but say his name. Y'all ain't said his name. Say his name. We need to know. Right?
Absolutely, I think he's worth remembering in so many ways
Mm.
because he's touched every one of us in a different way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Chef Brian was a very special chef at JW. Man,
Mm.
he was my very first professor, um, and from that encounter, really shaped the direction of the rest of where I was going to be and who I was going to be at JW.
Yeah. And see, I didn't even know him from class because I never went to JW. I was one of the few not classically trained chefs. But when I was in the Miami scene, I was able to seek advice and ask questions. And a lot of chefs I talked to didn't want to have any conversation. They wasn't trying to leave any game. They wasn't trying to help see me come up. And I'm like, yo, I'm the next generation. I'm gonna do it regardless. Help me figure it out. And that's like between his death, looking at the state of our industry, of the fact that we were celebrating trauma in our industry, and of the fact that there wasn't a glass ceiling in the restaurant industry back then.
Mm.
It was a concrete ceiling.
Mm.
I looked at Chef Stephan and Chef Irie and I was like, hey fellas, we have to do something different, right? We have to try to, and I didn't have words for it, but I said we're gonna call this thing chef culture because we need to ultimately influence the culture. What that has morphed into over the last 10 years is true coalition building.
Mm.
It's making sure that independent black and brown chefs, when they have in their business, if they need something, they have somewhere to go. If they have questions, they have resources, right? But also, too, providing guidance and providing best practices and opening doors so that we can truly control and take over our culture. Because what's happened is we set the trends in everything.
Right.
We know this, right?
Right.
But in the kitchen, we aren't often financially rewarded, right? We're often tasked to do more with less. So even when we open our restaurants and stuff, we're not given the same resources. So what I wanted Chef Culture to do was be a way to combat that. And what I say simply, and I know Chef Stephan believes in this deeply, man. It's not a I, it's a we. whatever resources I don't have, and I, as you, as the independent culinary professional, we have as a collective. And so we've been able to coalition build and build power across the fact that almost anywhere you go on the East Coast and going towards the West Coast now, if you tap in and be like, yo, chef, I'm flying into DC. I need a kitchen. I need someone to pick me up. Can they help me shopping? I need a team. We got people that can do it. And that's just on the surface level. That's
Mm.
not talking about if we want to go ahead and really dive into the health of our community. We've got a coalition of people doing youth culinary training, and we're about to start talking to them about, hey, what are best practices, so that across the country, we're sharing best practices on how to elevate our youth as our next generation, right? We've got people doing nutrition stuff. Like, so it's become a much bigger thing than I think either me or my wife intended it to be. It started out as a way to make sure that culinary professionals had support so that they didn't have situations like, like Chef Stephan, I'm gonna use you, right? It's like if they had a situation like you, they had someone to go to, so that they could grow successfully, so that people didn't go and now it's buy a food truck and mortgage their house and then not be able to pay for it and lose it. Like, so that people know that there are other ways to do business and support and then grow their communities. And I'm rambling a little bit, so y'all jump in here.
No,
No,
that's
no,
fine.
no, no.
But I think a great point though that you just said, that that we talk about a lot here. Is that first of all, are you fortunate enough to have a mortgage? In order to get to a restaurant,
wow. Yeah,
I mean, the economic opportunities to open a brick and mortar for chefs, has decreased significantly over the, even more after post COVID. And then, why do we see more, chefs of Black and brown, nature go into personal chefs and catering and things like that? Because a true
for
brick and
real.
mortar, the price per square foot has gone up significantly.
And it just doesn't make sense. That business model is broken, bro. And we're playing a game that wasn't built for us to win.
Well, I
Not
mean,
saying
now
we can't play it, but sorry. Go
well,
ahead.
the triple net rents. I mean, triple net taxes. Now
Oh my
not only
God.
are you paying rent, but now then we're also responsible for the property taxes for the place. But we have no ownership in said real estate that we're paying taxes on.
Nothing.
I
No,
mean, if you
no.
talk about taxation without representation, that is the truest form
That's the
of
definition.
capitalism. It's the definition that you're paying taxes without representation. You have no say so over the land that you're paying taxes on.
Seriously.
Uh,
And we don't, that doesn't include the fact that there are just other ways.
Right.
Right? Like you talked about the explosion of us during the pandemic. I don't know if we realize as chefs, if you ask a chef, hey, list every independent culinary profession by type, right? They might be able to give you 7 or 8. There's over 40 different ways you could be an independent culinary professional and not sit in a restaurant. Because if you've ever sat in a restaurant, your restaurant on a Monday night, praying that anybody walk through the door, and then close to
Mhm.
closing time, you like praying nobody walk through the door. Like,
Right.
you'll know what I'm talking about. Like,
I mean, I look at Demetrius Brown, who was in my kitchen at White Oak Kitchen and Cocktails in Atlanta, who started working with Sean Chavis, who helped me write Soul, and now he's a 100% food stylist. That's all he does.
come
He
on,
does
bro.
magazines. He does cookbooks. He does everything like that. So every opportunity there is, I try to put him on, and build that coalition. I know Chef Stephan has a whole list of people that he's put on
Yeah,
and different
yeah.
avenues and parts of the chef community.
And that's
I think for me personally, there is no greater satisfaction in 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 personal satisfaction in just connecting people. No matter what, you know, I keep rephrasing that same phrase that it's your light doesn't dim any lower because you are putting somebody else in front of that light. So if we
tell it for
haven't
the
learned
people
that
in the back,
lesson
man.
yet,
Say it so they can hear it.
if we haven't learned that lesson yet, I think it's when you talk to people like Chef Todd, when you talk to people like yourself, and there's so many others, um, um, we understand what it means. And today, like I said, I wouldn't be here, man, if it wasn't for my community.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I said that beyond my family. I
Yes.
wouldn't have been able to survive the last 3 years. I wouldn't have been able to deal with the trauma of having to fight to gain my mobility back if it wasn't for my tribe, man. So, and talking about tribe, let's talk about a very important conference that you and I have been talking for a long, long time,
A long, long time.
that we are finally putting in the city of all cities, the city of Oklahoma,
Tulsa, yep.
where Black
Wall Street.
Wall Street was born.
Yes.
The name, the this city named Haiti, based on Haitian migrants and Haitian professionals that came to the States, and Black excellence just emerged to the tenfold. And I'm so glad that you are in Oklahoma City, and we have decided to bring the state of Black food to
Tulsa,
that city.
Yep.
I'm excited about being here, man.
Bro, it's gonna be amazing. So, State of Black Food. This is the Black Wall Street edition because we are on historic Black Wall Street. Most people don't realize that Oklahoma was going to become the first Black state in the Union, right?
Absolutely.
That's where they sent the Trail of Tears, and we had more wealth on Black Wall Street. There were more Black millionaires, which today would have been billionaires, than anywhere in the country. And when the massacre happened, it distributed a lot of that knowledge and wealth. So I'm from New York, so I always give shouts to Black Wall Street because the Harlem Renaissance wouldn't have happened without some of the wealth and knowledge from people that were fleeing Black Wall Street, moving up to New York, to Harlem, going to Detroit, right? Going to Chicago, like, because this was the center. So it's only right that as we talk about really coalition building and changing the future for independent Black and brown culinary professionals, that we come back to the epicenter and we spread out again, right? So State of Black Food happens August 28th to September 1st. It's a 5-day event. And it's not about us cooking. I am going to make sure we eat good as chefs, but this is where chefs come to get fed. All of my independent Black and brown culinary professionals, we're looking for you. So day one, we're doing a great media day, right? And then we're going to do a reception, because you got to look. Before I meet you on some business shit, I just want to have a good time.
All right.
So we're gonna party, right? We're gonna party the way chefs do. We shutting down a whole area, but then day two we come in, which is really our first day. We come in and do our conference day, and we've got 3 tracks. Our first track is talking about your table, which is all about your foundations, both professional and personal. Our second track is your narrative, your story. How do you tell authentic narratives? To that end, we have people from film and TV, but also from how do you get published and write a book. Like, we have multiple levels of people. We'll actually be screening Finding Edna Lewis there. We're going to be screening a couple of culinary movies there. And then we have our future track, which is all about us being in formation. This is that mission alignment. So there's 2 parts. It's being in formation, mission alignment, but also how do we as culinary professionals leverage tech to our benefit. So we all hear the buzzword AI, but a lot of us chefs, we don't know what that is. So we're going to have practical, applicable sessions on using AI in your business. We want people to leave with something. And we're just on our second day. Then we go on a Saturday, which is health and wellness. Right? This is about you. We're going to start you out with a sound bath, some meditative principles. Chefs ain't never done no sound bath before, but we're going to be on doing it. By the end of that day, we'll have done some Black Wall Street tours, plus a ton of other things. And that night, we're doing our own awards. Now, the awards are special. This is our awards gala. We are awarding culinary professionals around the country. These are awards that you cannot pay for. You will be nominated. So nominations are going out in the next 2 weeks. The awards will be hosted by Chef KJ Kearney.
No,
not chef, but
no,
KJ Kearney.
KJ and I are on the same board with Southern Foodways Alliance. So
love it. Yeah, amazing. Amazing brother. He's going to be our host. And we're hoping that Chef Greg Collier will be our culinary director for that night to do our awards dinner.
Another great, and if he doesn't, I would personally go up there and kick him square in the ass
Uh,
and ensure.
Yo, Greg, bro.
I will be right behind you, buddy.
Hey! I might have to take Stephan with me, but we'll definitely make sure that happens.
That happens, yeah. And then to round it out, so after that day, our Sunday, we're going to start by doing something unusual for conference. I'm taking people to church. If they want to come, I'm asking everybody to. Transformation Church is led by a young brother who is amazing, right? Chef Pastor Todd. He is an amazing young brother. We're going to go to church. Then we're going to have a closing brunch. Then we've got some Sunday evening festivities and stuff to get into, which is going to be a if you know thing. That's going to be where the no phones are allowed because we don't need evidence of what we do towards the end of the festival, right? And Monday, which is Labor Day, we're going to do a cookout and tasting. So all the fun of the cookout, the dominoes, the spades, the barbecue, but then all the elevation of a chef tasting. So it meets each other. And that's our conference. There's so much more to it. There's so many more names I can try. I did it because I don't want people coming just for the names. I want people to realize if you come to that, if you're in the room, you're already where you need to be. You're somebody. I want people to come because this is where we go to be in community with each other. This is how we start off our next several years, right? I need people to walk out of this conference, make new partnerships, and come back in 6 months and be like, yo, Chef, man, because of that conference, I made a partnership that has changed my business and subsequently has changed my family's life and subsequently has changed my community life. I want us to come out with agreements like, hey, you know what? As the culinary professionals that are controlling the culture, hey, here's some best practices for our industry. If you're a young chef coming in the game, here's a place you can go. Like, these are the things that we want people to come out with and have a good time.
I'm going to declare and decree that Roots Heart Soul podcast will be one of the official podcasts for the event. Come hell and high water.
High water.
And high water. Not war and high water.
And high water.
Because
and I don't even have to second that because I'm gonna be there anyways.
Right.
Bro. I'm glad you said it because I was gonna volunteer, y'all.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have a whole media setup for you guys.
Right.
So yes, please.
One thing and then we wind it down here. We've got about 5 more minutes here. Roots Heart Soul podcast. But I think that the one thing that I believe that I heard you say that I want to make sure that people understand is that it is a community.
Mm-hmm.
And there is plenty of ways that we already are in competition amongst ourselves in this chef world that that there are different arenas in which we are sparse in that we're competing in, and there's different arenas that we are multiples in and we're competing in. And so even though we were there all in competition, when we get there, we're developing a community so that we continue to have great competition amongst ourselves, but celebrate each other when we win. I believe that's what I took out of it.
Yeah, bro, you got it right. If you look at people throw around the term ecosystem builder, but we mean that with chef culture. An ecosystem in nature, the purpose of competition is to make you better.
Absolutely.
Right? So we believe in healthy competition, but more importantly, we believe in collaboration. And like you said, Chef, there's 110 ways to get it. Right? We never walk down a bread aisle and be like, yo, there's too much bread in this aisle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great way.
Talking about bread, Chef Chad.
Yeah.
Tell our audience real quick, how do they connect with you? How do they follow you? I know there are multiple pages and platforms where we can, but very quickly, tell our audience how do they follow Chef Chad and how do they connect with you, man?
So my name, Chef Chad Cherry, is my personal page, but I always tell everybody, man, all roads lead to Chef Culture, and it's Chef Culture with a K, right? Chef Culture with a K. And I am not the culture. We are the culture. So that is a collaborative page. If you have something, we will post about you. We will celebrate you. For the conference, it is stateofblackfood.com. But you can find everything you need to on our webpage. Chef Stephan got a State of Black Food button. Appreciate you, sir. And, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it
like
any other way.
that
Yeah, I
part.
like
But
that.
that's what I'm saying, man. But it's there. And to that end, yes, you can find us, Chef Culture, Chef Chad Cherry, and Chef Stephan didn't say it, but he's a part of our steering committee. So we have a committee of professionals because, like I said, it's about collaboration. We didn't want to create this event and not make sure that we weren't asking other people's input. Like, I know I don't know it all. So people like Chef Stephan have given months upon months. I mean, over 8 months of time of us planning and saying, okay, yes, let's do this. No, let's not do that. Let's try this. Oh, this makes sense, and blah, blah. So thank you for that, Chef, man. Just appreciate that.
You will never have to say thank you to me, man.
I don't think that people understand holistically. On the surface, they think that Chef Stephan is limited sometimes in the conversations about Haiti. And what he does is use Haiti as a springboard to have conversations about the rest of the world, you know, and for him to be a part of it, it's already done. It's already blessed, you know. So
Yes.
I mean,
Chef
this is
Todd,
done deal. Yeah.
while I got you on the line, bro. So we saying this
Uh-oh.
live.
Uh-oh.
I want to extend not only an
Uh-oh.
official invite. We want you at the conference, bro. We need your presence there, your leadership. Want you there. But I also would like to ask that you would bless us with some of your knowledge in some way at the conference, man. Like,
you know, the thing is that you know, if Stephan is there, I'm there. That's first of all. Secondly, there's so much more in the world that I have to give. You talking about being healthy, you know, why, you know, I have a great wife, you know, who says, you know, take your ass to the doctor, you know, you know, who does these things, you know, because it's, you know, it's one thing to be about self, but to be selfish and keep it all to yourself,
yeah,
you know, does not push our community forward. And I, you know, had the fortunate pleasure of being at the Smithsonian this past Saturday, you know, 125 people strong, you know, that came out to support Roots, Heart, Soul, the cookbook, the chef there at the Smithsonian. I mean, the food that the oxtails and pickles. I mean, I was telling Stephan earlier today, the buffalo chili that he did, you know, when we started following the Buffalo Soldiers out west. You know, the tostones, you know, the Puerto Rican steak, the fried chicken livers, you know, the rice pudding, you know, the on and on and on. You know, what I know that I did with this book allowed me to bring an entire group of community, and I get to celebrate it, you know, every time I turn a page with that brother, Chef Stephan. And so anytime he says I need to be there, then I will be there.
love it, bro. Love it, man.
All right. Chef, take us on out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't have it any other way. It's been a very, very wonderful conversation with Chef Chad Cherry, my good friend. Um, Thank you for being with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to you all for being with us tonight and continuing to support us. You can do so always by liking, by sharing, and by subscribing to our page. Subscribe to our YouTube page. And always, you can always follow us on our host network, which is Heritage Radio Network, and support all of the other podcasters that are doing some amazing work on that network. So I thank you and bid you good night and see you next Tuesday.
Good night,
everyone. Next Tuesday, you're listening to Roots, Heart, Soul podcast on Heritage Radio Network.